Hey guys, welcome back to the ImageWorks Painting channel. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different than what we have been talking about. We're going to talk about what paint is made out of. So the great thing about ImageWorks Painting is that all of the founders and owners used to be reps with Sherwin-Williams. So we've actually gone through the training, been to the manufacturing sites. We know what goes into the paint and what makes it special and when to use what type of paint on each project. So we're not just going to go out and spec the exact same paint for every single project there is. Everything has its own reason and its own purpose and its own time to be used. All right, when we talk about paint, there are four main parts of paint. There's the liquid or the base, the pigment, which you guys will think of as the color, the binders, which are what actually make it paint, and the additives, which are special features in each line of paint that differentiate it from the other paints on the market. Okay, the liquid or the base, you guys have heard of water-based paint, latex paint, or oil-based paint, an alkyd, or maybe a solvent-based paint like a xylene. That's what fills up most of the can of paint. So this is also what you're going to use to thin the paint out. If you have a latex paint, you can thin it out with water. If you have an oil-based paint, you thin it out with paint thinner. If you have a solvent-based paint, check and see what the actual solvent is, but it's going to be a xylene, MEK, something like that. That's what you use to thin down the paints. Most paints on the market, they are ready to go out of the can though. You don't want to thin them down too much. There is a certain allowed amount to thin it down if it's got to get through a certain machine or if you're having some kind of problem. Please read the specifications on that. The second part of paint here is your pigment. This is what you're going to think of as the color. This is what people add to the paints to go ahead and make them hide. Titanium dioxide is the white pigment in paint, and then every paint manufacturer has its own colorant system that gives you all of the colors that you see when you go into a paint store. The other part of pigments are your extender pigments. This is going to be clay, silica, zinc oxide. Those all are put into paint for specific purposes. For instance, clay helps paint hide. So if you do find, it's not used a lot anymore, but if you do find a paint that has some clay in it, it's going to hide very well. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a top quality paint, but it will hide a little bit better. Silica is used for scrubbabilities. Zinc oxide is used for mildew resistance. These are all extender pigments. They add it in. It's cheaper than the titanium dioxide and helps them to fill the can and give it a little bit better abilities as well. Binders. Binders are what make paint paint. They are what provide the toughness of your paint. They are what help build the film thickness on your paint. They are what help paint stick to walls. Primers have a lot of binders in them. They are what help to actually get the durability and the stickability of the primer onto your surface. That way your top coats will stick to the primers. The paint and primers in one, they have a higher binder count than some of the cheaper paints out there. So they can be used both as your primer coat and as your top coat. Now that doesn't mean you only have to put one coat on. That means you have to put a coat on as your primer and you have to put a coat on as your top coat. But they have that ability so that you don't have to clean out your tools. You don't have to buy two different kinds of paint. You don't have to get, two different gallons when you only need a half gallon of each. It gives you the ability to use one paint for the entire project. Those are your, your super paints, your Behr Premium Plus Ultras, your Benmore Auras, anything that says paint and primer in one on it. The additives, these are what give paint their special features. These are the thickeners that help the paint flow better, whether it's on your brush, on your roller cover, something like that. They're what help the paint smooth out. Cashmere has one that helps the paint smooth to a buttery rich look. Your Pro Classics have self-leveling features. Your Emerald urethanes have self-leveling features. Other additives, like Resilience has an additive that helps it dry fast so that you don't need as much open time whenever it's about to rain in the summer. Other additives are biocides or mildicides that help prevent mildew growth. There's a lot of those in exterior paints. Actually so much that if you use an exterior paint inside, it will make you sick. So make sure that you're using interior paint for your interior projects, exterior paint for your exterior projects. Defoamers fall into the additive category. So if you've ever experienced any bubbles in your paint, those are taken away by defoamers. So that's something that's put into the paint at the factory. It's not something you can add later, but they help to make sure there's not a lot of bubbles inside your coating. So these are the 4 different parts that go into your can to make it one solid, good quality product. The liquid, again, is the base, water-based, oil-based, solvent-based. Pigments, your color. Binders are what help it stick to the wall. Additives are the special features. So when you go into Sherwin-Williams, that's why there are 8 different types of interior paint there for you to choose from. They all have different additives. They have different amounts of binders. Even in its own line, you'll have different bases, extra white base, a deep base, and an ultra deep base. They will accept different amounts of pigment to give you the different colors on the wall. So if you guys have any other questions, go ahead, post them below. We'll try to answer them for you. I know this is more of an informative, scientific video than we usually do, but it's something that will help you understand what you're looking at when you go into a paint store and look at the different cans of paint. If you guys like this type of video, let us know. We can teach you guys a little bit more about the science side behind it. That's our background. If you didn't like it and you want to get back to pro tips, let us know that as well. Click that subscribe button, hit the bell. It'll let you guys know whenever we put a new video out. Thanks. Have a great weekend.